Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this evening's leadership webinar. We have a special guest tonight, a gentleman by the name of Dewey Wynn. Dewey's the National Director of Sales for our company. He's also one of the top producers in America in this industry. When I say top producers in America in this industry, week before last week, 18,000 target on his own Pan life insurance premium, $183,000 annuity. Folks, when that's issued and paid, his income for the week is over $20,000. So I would say that would qualify him with that kind of production as being one of the top people in America. In addition to that, Dewey's built his own IMO FMO. At one point in time, he had 6,300 licensed agents in his organization. Folks, I've been around a lot of people. I've had the privilege of working around a lot of people that are literally experts in IUL annuities. They've done dinner seminars, radio, direct mail, newspaper inserts. Well, folks, our lead system is college planning. It's free. Tonight, Dewey is going to show you his cell system he uses for college planning. And what's really exciting about this is Dewey does this in a warm market. He's got a radio show in Dallas he does it in, and he's just starting to go into schools and set seminars up in schools. But the money Dewey's been making, folks, he hadn't tapped the school market yet. What he's tapped is his warm market and a radio show, which he's done exceedingly well at. And now he's taking it to the next level, which is going into schools, scheduling seminars. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce one of the founding partners of Wealth Strategy Leadership Group, the National Director of Sales of our company, Dewey Wynn.
Thank you, Kelly, and good evening, everyone. Once again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dewey Wynn, and on behalf of Wealth Strategies Leadership Group, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you. What I want to do today is to share with you the concept of college funding for the young parent. And this concept has been working really well for me when I see parents who have children from newborn to 12 years old. And I remember many years ago when I have my first two kids and we start thinking about college funding. By that time, I lived in the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland had a program called prepaid college planning, where we put away $15,000 for each kid, one time, one shot, and it's guaranteed that if they happen to go to state university, all of their tuition for the 4 years will be paid for. So that program will hedge against inflation, because it doesn't matter what inflation will be. We bought the credit. Now, what happened was 2, 3 years ago, my brother-in-law called me and asked me about that program, and he said, "Hey, Dewey, I heard that you had that program for your kid, and I want to get one for myself too." By that time, I wasn't really involved in college planning yet, but mm, I got the information from him, and he called in to get the same program that I got, uh, and it's actually cost him $50,000 for his kid. So technically, roughly about 20 years later, that cost inflated from 15,000 to 50,000. Many of us, when we hear about, wow, if you have to put away 50,000 for the children to go to school, it's a lot of money one time, but it is what it is. College costs have been written so fast, and it is expensive, and that's why we need to really relay the information out there to the to the young parent, so that they can be prepared. Now, another story that I normally share with my potential client is this story. My family, we have six brother and sister. My older brother is the brightest one in the family, and during his college year, there was one semester that he did not have enough money to pay for the tuition. So he asked my parents for help. Unfortunately, by that time, my father did not have enough money to help him. So my father asked him to wait for one semester and come back the next semester so that he would save the money for him. And guess what? Because of that one interruption, of that one semester, he just never came back to college. So um, the remaining five of us, we all went to college and get a degree, except my oldest brother. He just did not get a degree because there was just one semester that my father did not have the money to help him, and my father felt very bad about that, but um, it is what it is when we happen to fail to plan and don't have the money to provide for our kid. It could be in the same situation, and that's why we do go out and share with our client the importance of planning early and understanding how much it costs, and at least we can provide the list, which is the tuition for our kid when they get ready to go to college. At least they have that money to pay for. So most of the time, when I sit down with my potential client, what I do is I just go to Google and I type, for example, if I happen to be in front of the potential client in California, I would just type how much does it cost to go to University of California in Irvine, and the system will, Google will tell me if I want to go to University of California in Irvine right now, it will cost $11,220 for tuition only. And as you can see, room and board, it will be another 13,000, and book and supply will be $1,700, and all the fee. So if we look at the cost of attendance, it does cost about $32,000 for the in-state to send uh, a child to go to college right now. Now, if I happen to be in front of the client that who have a 6 years old child, the cost is not going to be 11,000 when she go to college. So what I normally do is I go to our website and I log in and go to the back office and click on college cost inflation calculator under the calculator tab. Okay. Now, if you happen to do that, and then if you happen to add new, as you can see, it will ask for the child name. Let's say Milan, and let's say if she was born in 2012. Okay, and the cost I just mentioned to you is $11,220 right now per year. When I click on save, okay, and as you can see, oh, there's already one there. Okay, let me delete one of them. Now let me actually get the screen bigger so that you can see. On this calculator, it said that, well, she is 6 years old right now, and she will begin to go to college at 18, so she get 12 more years to go. Okay. Estimated number of years in college will be 4, and Number of years for inflation adjustment, it will be 12 years. So when we look at the inflationary rate, let's say if I use a conservative number, which is 4%, 11,000 a year right now. By the time she go to college, it will cost 17,964. Okay, so when we take that and multiply by 4, an estimate cost for her to go to college for 4 years will be $71,000, 856. Now, here's the situation. Most of our clients, if they are concerned about college education funding for their kid, now um, either they already have a plan, and most likely they will have like a 529, or if they haven't looked into it yet, they probably have the money in the bank right now. So what I share with them is, if you do have your money in the bank right now, in order for you to have the 71,000 when she get ready to go to college, you get to put away about $5,358 a year for the next 12 years. Okay, so the total contribution will be 64,296. Now, if you happen to redirect that money to where you get a better return, which is 6%, and then the yearly contribution will be reduced down to 4,259. So the total contribution for the next 12 years, in this case, will be 51,108. So if they happen to redirect that money to where they get a better return, they will save about $13,188 for the next 12 years. Now, if my client who are interested to find out, they will ask me, Dewey, where do I get 6%? And I will explain to them that you can get 6% by putting your money into a mutual fund under a 529 plan. And let me share with you, I normally use this graph right here to show my client. And I told them, well, if you happen to have the 2% return, your money will grow just like the dark blue curve right there with the 2% return. 100,000 after 20 years will become 150,000. Now, if you happen to use the mutual fund or the index, let's say if we use the Standard and Poor 500 index fund, okay, when we buy index fund, what do? We buy share, right? So our money can go up and it can go down and go back up, and go down and go back up. After 20 years, $100,000 will become roughly about $275,000 right now. So if you have your money in a 529, your money most likely going to grow like that. Okay. Now the advantage of the 529, of course, you already know there are some tax advantage that you can have where it grow income tax. It grow tax deferred, but you get to contribute in with the after tax dollars, and when you happen to withdraw it out for education purpose, and then you don't have to pay the tax, all right? But the disadvantage of the 529 when you put it in a mutual fund is you got market risk. And I ask my clients, what happens if your children happen to go to school, let's say just like 2008, when the market take a crash from losing 38% in 1 year. You might not have enough money for your children to go to college for 4 years. So a lot of my clients who have a 529, what they do is they stop the contribution and they actually redirect the money to the light blue curve on top, as you can see. This light blue curve is the performance of an index strategy in the past 20 years using the same return as the actual index of the red curve. Okay, what it does is when you have your money in the index strategy, you do not buy share. So your money grow risk free because when the market go down, your principal is safe. Not only the original principal, but the new principal every year. It will be safe. Okay. So if you look at the light blue curve right here, it's 100% participation with a 12.5% cap. 100,000 20 years ago will grow to become over $400,000 as of 2017. Now, if you look at the yellow curve that kind of tag along with that line, what it does is a comparison line. If someone who gives you a 7% guarantee return every year, your money will grow like the yellow line. Except that it's a comparison line because you can't really get 7% anywhere out there right now, that guarantee. However, if you do, your money will grow like 100,000 in the past 20 years will become almost 400,000. So in the past 20 years, my client who have money in the index strategy, their performance is over 7%. Now, when I share this concept with my client, most of the time, if they do have money in the dark blue curve, which is the bank, they want to move their money to the light blue curve. If they have money in the red curve, they want to move their money to the light blue curve. And that is the strategy that we have. Now, when we talk about college funding, and when I do presentations for college funding workshop, do I write sell for college planning purpose only? The answer is no. Most of the time, I do write sell for college funding purpose, but there are situations where the attendees who came to my presentation to the radio show, they have older kids, 16 years old, 17 years old. It is too late for them to start planning. But when they see the performance of the safety of the light blue curve, they want to book an appointment. They want to find out where can they redirect their 2% at the bank, or even not 2%, less than 1% if you have a checking account, right? To where they can get a better return. And I do sell life insurance to them for the life insurance purpose and things like that nature. And there are times that I sit down with them. They came for college planning purpose, but they also have like access in 401k, and I do the rollover. One of the rollover that Kelly mentioned earlier, roughly about 183,000, it came from the college funding workshop. All right. Now, talking about that, so most of us who came to our company, you probably came because of the lead generation system that we have. And then of course, you get to learn about college funding, you get to learn about the client presentation, you get to learn how to prospect, and you also have to learn about the actual presentation that we do with college planning. And all of that information is in our back office. However, I saw that many of us are in the waiting game. You are waiting to be trained to go to the school system. You are waiting for your first presentation. You are waiting for to follow up with the client who attend your presentation. And many of you are still waiting to learn from the system, which is not good because if we're in the business that we are just in the waiting game and then there's no income coming in. That's why Kelly um, talked about the idea of having one market where you follow up with your uh, client who have children or grandchildren from newborn to 12 years old. Many of us, when we talk about one market, if we happen to be in the industry for a long time, and the first thing that we think is, well, I'm already out of my warm market. But when you really happen to sit down and start thinking about those who have the newborn to 12 years old, I'm sure you will come up with a list, maybe 20 to 50 names that you can write down. Or many of your friends, call your older friend or your younger friend, the older friend, you ask them, who do you know at the like grandparent grandchildren that is between newborn and 12 years old, right? You call your younger friend, and you probably will come up with the same list that have roughly 25 to 50 names, and you call them, and that's what I do. I call them. I ask, have you planned for your college funding for your kid yet? And either they say yes or no. It doesn't really matter because I'm giving them a second opinion on what they do, right? So if they say no, most of the time they have more money in the dark blue curve. And if they say yes, most of the time they have the money in the red curve. And my objective here is to move their money to the light blue curve. So when I do that, what I normally do is I go to the back office for American National. Okay, let me see. I can log in. Okay, and then I go to Expert Office right there. I go to Expert Illustrator. Oops, what happened? Okay, they log me in. Okay, and then what happened right here? Let's click on the sample client right here. Okay. Now, as you can see, if I go back to the calculator right here, I need to do for this client $17,964 a year for 4 years. So since I actually did this illustration this morning, now let's say if the parent is like a 30 years old male, okay, who live in Texas or California, is very much the same value there. Now, the first thing I need to do is I want this illustration served for cash flow. Okay, so I choose that. And then I want to use a specified amount. Our option is minimum. We want to minimize the insurance and maximize the cash flow. Okay. And then if I happen to click on cash flow right here, I would choose, let me subtract this. I would choose the input to be 17,964, and let's say 12 years from now for a 30 years old parent is 42 years old, and they will withdraw that money out for 4 consecutive years. Okay, so when we have that, let's go back to the policy detail right here, and let's say if I happen to pick like $400 a month, okay, uh, to age 42, which is 12 years monthly. Now, when I do that and I click on the value right here, as you can see, let me make it bigger so that you can have a better view. Okay. As you can see, if they contribute in $400 a month, which is $4,800 a year for the next 12 years, guess what? They get the money for the first year, the second year, the third year, but the fourth year they're kind of short, right? Instead of 17, they only have 13,000. So what I do is I go to policy detail right here, increase the monthly contribution to $450. Okay, and when we do that and take a look at the value one more time, it will show that by the time that she ready to go to school. We got 17,964 for the first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. So let me do this. Let me happen to pull up the calculator here and do some calculation here, okay? If we happen to put away, where's my calculator? Again, it's right here. If we happen to put away $5,400, which is $5,400 for the next 12 years, total contribution is $64,800, okay? And when we do this illustration, we show that they're able to pull out 17,964 multiplied by 4 is 71,000. So it's more than what they put in. And what I share with them is this. Well, so you happen to put in $5,400 a year for 12 years, and this is what you get out. You already take out more than what you put in. Now, the 12 years that you contribute to this plan, in our term, we call the contribution phase, right? So what happened here is if you do not choose this plan and you go the traditional way of having your money in the bank, and let's say 2 years into the contribution phase, you happen to be sick, like really sick, or you happen to pass away prematurely, guess what? Your children only have roughly about a little bit over $10,000 in their college funding, and it's not going to be enough because they need 71,000. You see that? Now, if you happen to have this plan and that situation happen to you, at least the debt benefit here is $580,000. So if you happen to pass away prematurely, your children is guaranteed to have the money to spend for college because her mom can take 80,000 to put away, and then we have plenty of money to cover the college education, maybe and then the 500,000 remaining, she might pay off the house and things like that nature. So I explained to my client what you can do with the debt benefit here, where you can reserve X amount for your kid, pay off the house, and then you don't have that obligation, and then you still can have a part-time job and take care of your kid and things like that nature. Now, if they happen to be sick, like terminally ill, chronically ill, critically ill, they can exercise. As you can see, the rider right here, they can exercise to accelerate the debt benefit and use that money to pay for their school down the road. So as you can see, the target premium for this particular example is roughly about $4,700. All right. Now, what if my client tell me, Dewey, I'm in a situation where I cannot put away $450 a month. What can I do, right? So what can you do in that case? You can go back to this policy detail right here. Instead of do 450, maybe let's see whether we can do 350. Okay, but instead of the contribution is for 12 years, we can stretch it out to 16 years. Okay, and when we do that, and if we happen to take a look at the value, now it's $4,200 a month, right? And as you can see, when we do the 350, we got only 13,764 per year right here. Why? Because during the 13, 14, 15, and 16 years, instead of paying into the policy, they can take that money and redirect it to apply to the tuition. And that's why instead of needing 17,964, You only need like 13,000 right there. And then it still add up. However, in this particular example, 370, I'm sorry, $350 a month is not going to do it because there is a shortage of a little bit over 2,000 right here on the fourth year. So I had to go back and increase that amount to 375. Okay. And when we do that, and then I believe that we should have enough money for the child to go to school for consecutive years. And if they stop paying, guess what? This policy still continue to grow until like 121 years. Okay. So when you look at that, let's say life expectancy for a man is 83. So you look at if they happen to pass away, still can get the death benefit of $265,000. So this is a win-win situation for the parent. They put in like less than in this case right here. Let me do the calculation one more time. Yeah, $4,500. $4,500 for 12 years, which is 54,000. Okay, and 13,000 for 4 times 4 is 53,000. And then what happened here is they still have the death benefit over 200,000 at life expectancy 8. So, it's a plan that covers the rainy day if they happen to be sick or they happen to pass away prematurely, and it shows that they have the money for them to go to college. They can use this money. If their kid happen to have a scholarship and do not need this money right here, guess what? They can continue have that to grow until 65 years old, and they will have the additional tax-free income. Why do they need a tax-free income at retirement? And this is a chance for me to actually show my client a retirement presentation because I strongly believe that everyone, by the time he or she retired, they got to have two parts of my money. One part is the taxable one, which is from a qualified plan, a 401k, 403b, five, the and, and, any qualified plan, IIA, and things like that, which is taxable, right? And then they should have a tax-free bucket, which is either a life insurance policy or a municipal bond or the Roth IRA and things like that. So when they have two buckets like that, they do have flexibility to deal with the government. You know why? Because number one, we don't know who will be the president by that time and what kind of tax that they are going to impose on what tax bracket. So when you have both of the um, different tax flavor there. Now you can control how much you want to withdraw out from the qualified plan and still stay in the lower tax bracket. The remaining money that you need, you withdraw it out from the tax-free one. And that is one of the issue that most people don't know because it is an unknown factor. What tax bracket will be down the road. Most likely going to be higher because the national debt we have right now. Most likely, we all know that things happen right now. What do I mean by that? Well, baby boomer generation might exhausted the social security funding and things like that nature, right? So they have to raise the tax to cover for that. Another issue that most people are unaware of is the situation where you have to pay tax on your social security benefit. Social security benefit is known to be tax free, right? Because a lot of people feel like I'm old now. I got the benefit. I'm not going to pay tax on my Social Security benefit. The reality is the government can tax you either 50% of your Social Security benefit will be taxed or 85% of your Social Security will be taxed, depend on how much money that you withdraw out. For example, right now, if a couple filing joint income, if they happen to draw out between 32,000 to 44,000, and then 50% of their money will be taxed. Now, what happened here is when you do that calculation, they already take 50% of your Social Security benefit to add to that formula. For example, if you happen between husband and wife making collecting $30,000 a year, right? So 50% of 30,000 is 15,000. So if you take 32 minus 15, if they happen to draw out like 17,000 from a qualified plan, guess what? Their Social Security benefit will be taxed. So by having a taxable bucket and a tax-free bucket, you might have the flexibility to tax just enough so that you can avoid paying Social Security benefit altogether. So that is how I actually gear my presentation from this college funding presentation to a retirement presentation if I feel there is a need and things like that nature. But now, if you take a look at the target premium for this particular case, it's almost 4,000 too. So, so when we really go out there uh, and use the college funding, the mindset is very simple. The mindset when our clients sit down and you go through the process that I just happened to go through with you, you will see that they are focusing on saving, they are focusing on cash flow, and then when you show them that they have the insurance, and they go, "Wow, I have that too." So they are not thinking like they are buying; they are thinking they are saving. So it's a much easier sell when you do that, and then you also have a chance to really talk about retirement planning at this point. Okay. Um, and like I said, one of the case, I think the biggest case that I wrote for college funding so far is when it's a warm market sale too. This client is the restaurant owner. I sit down and he had three kids that need to go to school. So I go to the back office right here, and I add on, add new here, so I have access, the next kid, and then things like that. And when I do the calculation, it shows that they need to have he needs to put away about $1,800 a month for the three kids to go to school. And then I run the illustration, and he was just so happy that he saw that he had a $700,000 life insurance. And so he signed up, and luckily he actually get a best rating, and he's so happy with the with that policy right there. All right, so that's what I have to share with you. What you need to do to generate income right now. Don't wait for the school system to open up the workshop and things like that. If I were you, just make a few phone call to your friend, make phone call to those that you know. Ask who do you know that have a kid from newborn to 12 years old, and you get their name, get their the year that they was born, and get the year that the parent was born, and do the illustration and share the same concept that I just shared with you. All right. Uh, Kelly, are you still there?
I am here, Dewey. Hey, Dewey, real briefly, I'm going to three-way Walt Luskin, but before I do that, I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Dewey, you have an office. You're based out of Cerritos, California. You have an office in Dallas. Folks, I'm not encouraging anybody to do what Dewey does. Dewey thinks out of the box. He's a leader. He's extremely aggressive. But Dewey's home base is Cerritos, California. Dewey, you have an office in Dallas. Once a month you fly to Dallas. How many days a month do you fly to Dallas, Dewey?
Most of the time, I stay there for a week. So I normally
Okay,
go on a Wednesday and come back on the Wednesday and do my college funding presentation on the Saturday.
okay, Dewey, you rented an office in Dallas. What's that cost you a month?
Roughly about $500.
Okay, you got it.
I rented the executive suite.
Okay, Dewey, you also have an internet radio show in Dallas. What's that cost you a month?
It's actually not an internet show. It's actually the talk show on the air. It's an AM talk show, and
Okay,
I have 23 minutes every week broadcasting on the air on every Thursday afternoon, and it cost me $600 a month to do so.
uh, so Dewey, you're spending $600 a month on your radio show. Your office costs 500. Dewey, what's your airline ticket cost to go to Dallas once a month?
Let's say on the average about 250 to $300 round
So
trip.
let's use 300. Now you're spending 1,400. Okay, when you're there during the week, Dewey, what's food cost you?
Well, I got to eat regardless whether I'm in California or Texas, so it doesn't really matter. But I have to do a rental car and then things like that. So my overhead roughly about like $2,000 a month, for
Okay,
the to go to that Dallas and ride sale.
okay. What I'm getting at, Dewey, is when you do your radio show once a week, how many leads do you generate?
Normally, I have roughly between uh, I would say uh, 6 to 9 caller call in.
Uh, okay, Dewey. On average, how many apps do you write a month off the radio show? How many applications? Let's be conservative. How many apps a month do you write on your radio show, Dewey?
It's really depend on the target. I now normally I write about 20 to 30 thousand dollars in target.
Okay, folks. I don't know if you just understood what Dewey said, but he writes 20, 30,000 a month in target. If he's writing 20, he's making 14,000 a month. If he writes 30, Dewey's making 21,000 a month, and he's spending two to make 21. If he writes 20 target, he's making 14, spending two. Okay, folks. Here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. While you're getting certified in college planning, while you're going through the learning curve, how to get seminars scheduled, get in your warm market. Dewey, how many warm market sales do you have in college planning?
Oh, I don't keep track of that. But what I also do, Kelly, is I have a few team member in Dallas that they are not experienced so much in life insurance yet, but they do have their own warm market too. So every time I come down there, I let them know the dates that I come down, and what they normally do is they book appointment uh, for me to go to see their client for them and to help them sell, and that actually the client came from their warm market on also. So when I come down there, I do the combination of both clients from the radio show and client from the warm market of my new team licensed member.
That's fantastic. Dewey, would it be very accurate to say over the last 90 days that you've written between 60 and 90,000 target on your own pen doing
Yes.
college planning?
Yes, sir.
So, folks, if you want to run that out over a year, if you figure Dewey is doing 20,000 a month between warm market and radio, that's 240 a year. Dewey makes 70% off that, folks. He's somewhere in the $180,000-$200,000 range. Well, guess what? Dewey is starting this week with Walt Wask, who I'm about to introduce. Walt specializes in going in schools, setting seminars up in schools. Walt's our new CEO president of our company. He's got an extraordinary background in terms of hiring agents, field training, but Walt's got an extraordinary background in going into schools. Folks, let me take a minute. I'm going to dial Walt up. Hold on for 1 minute. I'm going to get Walt. I want to introduce you to him tonight. Walt, can you hear me?
I can.
Dewey, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Folks, what I'd like to do right now is we have Walt Wask on our webinar tonight. Walt is the CEO president. I can tell you this, he has an extremely impressive resume in terms of hiring and field training agents properly. Well, what Walt is doing now is in Southern California. He literally takes agents into schools on a day in, day out basis to schedule seminars in schools. Walt, if you would, share a little bit about your background and Walt, share the number of schools that you think you probably went into to date and share how many people have said no to you. No, we won't allow you to come in and do a seminar. If you would, share that, Walt.
Well, you're already over the 30-minute mark, but I'll be brief. I started the insurance industry in 1985, joined an outfit called Connecticut Mutual. They met their maker, so I left and started in the securities world and was even consulting with regional broker-dealers in the Southern California area, setting up their departments of insurance. Realized that all stockbrokers are interested in is a transaction, and they have no desire to establish any working long-term relationship with their client, in my view. I worked with a technical analyst. I had a TV show on. Did commercial mortgage for a while until the market crashed. So I've done pretty much all aspects of finance. Even been a really large Amway business for about 9 years. So I understand distribution very, very well. Schools I've been in, I've probably been knocking on doors, myself 20, 25. And I've probably gotten 1, maybe 2 no's once I got in front of the decision maker. It's a cat and mouse game, and you just got to be patient and realize that it's timing. But every decision maker I've gotten in front of saw one, and the only one that said no was because they claimed they had 2 people in their school as parents that were doing college planning and such for the student body, and they wouldn't tell me whether they charged or not. So that's been my experience on that.
Fantastic. Walt, obviously you're new to the CEO president position, but you've been around our company for a couple months.
Oh, at least. Yes.
Walt, share where you see this company going. Obviously, when we bring someone in our company, they have warm market they can start with to get their feet wet. If they're going to make mistakes, make it in your warm market. Don't make it in the school. Folks, there's nobody on this call that couldn't go out and make $20,000 a month in your warm market. And at the same time you're doing that, guess what? We'll get a mentor assigned to you to start taking you in schools to get school seminars set up. But Walt, what do you think about what you've seen in our company, and what's your vision?
Well, my vision is real simple, and the two takeaway points of really reason why I'm obviously involved in this, and even in a bigger way, was when you look at where we are in selling and what we're trying to do, the two big factors, motivating factors, are fear of loss and sense of urgency. And that is automatically built in to what we're doing. Sense of urgency. Mom and dad see their kid every day, and in the back of their mind, they're thinking, holy cow, how am I going to pay for college? And fear of loss, with a 529 plan being in the market, if the market crashed while they were in college, how are they going to write that check for college? It just isn't going to work. So that automatically is a phenomenal thing that we have working very much in our favor. We just got to take a few more cards and stack it in our favor, and this thing's unbelievably the potential is just huge. It's just huge.
Walt, I really appreciate that. Welcome aboard. I look forward, as does everybody in our company, having someone of your caliber, your expertise, be on board with our company in the position you're in. Folks, I'm going to wrap it up on this tonight. A lot of agents who get involved in our company, they don't want to work a warm market. They say they don't know anybody. Folks, I hate to say this, but that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard someone say.
You can't pre-qualify your client, and what we're doing in college planning is different than every other advisor is doing. We are special and unique.
Yeah, and folks, unless you've done college planning, everybody in your warm market that has kids or grandkids is a potential client for you. I'm going to share one story with you. We have a gentleman in Buffalo, New York, by the name of Paul Kessler. He's dealt with high net worth seniors, and he came on board. He's extremely excited. He went to one of his clients that's a high net worth senior, and this client happens to have 4 grandchildren. She also has 2 kids that are the parents of them 4 grandchildren. Well, make a long story short, because of Pauline, this lady who's a high net worth senior, sitting down with her and showing her our college planning or college funding platform, Paul's going to end up with 4 insurance policies on the grandchildren, two insurance policies on the parents. The minimum target that this lady is looking at is $5,000 a month, and it's not single premium. So the minimum target she's looking at is $60,000 a year, which that'll make Paul $42,000 one sale. The maximum that she's looking at is about $10,000 a month, $120,000 target a year. Well, folks, if she did the 120, Paul stands to make $84,000 because he picked the phone up, set an appointment with the person in his warm market who happened to have 4 grandkids and 2 children. I'm going to close on this tonight. What parent, what grandparent, if they had the financial wherewithal, would not want to ensure that their kids are going to have their college education paid for, instead of the kids borrowing money through their teeth and coming out of college with a mortgage payment for the next 20, 30 years? See, most people go to college and they end up with $100,000, $200,000 in debt. It's the same as a mortgage payment. Well, what parent would want that to happen to their kids? Okay, if you're reluctant about going to your warm market with what we have, I don't know if this is the company for you, to be real frank with you. That tells me that you're not sold on what we're doing. You're not sold on how we can help families. If you would allow someone in your warm market that we could really help, but you feel uncomfortable going to your warm market, I really don't think we're probably the company for you. There's another reason why you go to your warm market while you're scheduling school seminars. If you're going to make a mistake, folks, make it in your warm market. Don't make it in front of a school, because you'll never get invited back. In other words, you need to sharpen your saw. You need to go out and do at least 5 sales in your worm market. That way, when you get in front of a school, you're really, really polished at your craft. Let me tell you something. When we do seminars at schools, we do 2 seminars a year. That for you to do a seminar a month, 12 months a year, you only need 6 schools. That's it. If you had 6 schools that you did a seminar a month on 12 months a year, you potentially could quite easily make 300,000-400,000 a year on your own pen. Well, folks, the first presentation should never be to a school. You should go learn this, become a professional, become extremely polished before you attempt to do a school. And folks, one of the companies we use to certify our agents, believe it or not, they won't let a greenie or someone who hasn't done presentations go in the school market and pollute it. They won't let them do that. They absolutely insist that you polish your skill set, go out and learn this business, become a professional, get some experience in your worm market. So here's my encouragement. Go out there in your worm market at the same time you're getting certified in the school, you're getting a school seminar set, get some experience under your belt, get the kinks out. You're going to hear all the questions answered. You'll have the answers. You can make mistakes in your worm market. When you go into school and you make a mistake, there's a good possibility they may not invite you back. So with that being said, well, welcome aboard, Dewey. Fantastic job tonight. Thanks a million.
Thanks,
Have
Dewey.
a good evening.